Welcome to Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians, an interactive panel discussion. Fridays at 1 p.m. Brought to you by the Austin Federation of Musicians and with the Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee. The Unemployment Compensation Advisory Committee are members of the Austin Federation of Musicians, Local 433 of the American Federation of Musicians, aka the Musicians Union. Some of us work as contractor 1099 workers, and others work as employee W-2 workers in various aspects of the music industry.
The goal of this session is to share our experiences, including trials and tribulations related to the Texas Workforce Commission, or TWC, with other musicians in the state of Texas to aid in navigating the TWC application process. We are not experts in unemployment assistance. We are musicians.
The information contained herein does not constitute either legal advice or an official pronouncement or a position of the Austin Federation of Musicians, but rather is only the personal opinions of the panelists. The panelists do not give legal advice or make official rulings on agency matters, should not be cited as authorities in any matter before the agency or when dealing with agency staff about a case, and must minimize their involvement with administrative processes. They also do not give legal advice on any other matter, and any information they should give should not be used as a basis for taking any employment-related action. Before taking any employment action that could adversely affect an employee, or before using any sample form or policy you may obtain from this group, you should consult a licensed, private sector, employment law attorney of your choice. All right, welcome back. This is Navigating Texas Workforce Commission for Musicians for January 15th, 2021. We always start off with the list of websites that we have down in the description of the video, and it always starts with the twc.texas.gov website and their Facebook page. That's the most recent information is always there. The most accurate information is always there. So you want to learn, you want to rely on probably secondary sources as little as possible and get it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But we also have our Local 433 Musicians Unemployment Information Sharing page on Facebook. That link is there. Our COVID-19 resources page for the Austin Federation of Musicians on our website, which is afm433.com/COVID-19. And Who Represents Me? The Texas version of that will help you find out who represents you locally, statewide, and also in the national legislature, so you can tell those legislators what's going on with you and what you need, especially during this time. So we always also start with beverages and introductions. The committee's not with me today because they are working. Yay! They've got some music work, either in their own businesses or working to reopen their businesses, and are not able to be here today. But I imagine we'll be back together next week. So we'll probably have a kind of a short session this week. But we always start with beverages. I'm drinking coffee as usual, and so. I guess, let's see, ripping into the news here. There isn't a whole lot of news on unemployment this week, unfortunately. We have been waiting eagerly for more news about exactly what the next steps are, what's happening. The TWC, the Texas Workforce Commission, their Facebook page still has pinned to the top of their page their December 30th announcement, and they've been doing their kind of regular media updates on just kind of numbers and things. The last one was yesterday. So we have heard a little bit from some actual musicians who have had some success with their unemployment payments restarting without them having to do anything other than continuing to make the payment requests or to continue to check whether they could make the payment requests. We haven't specifically heard yet from a musician who had their payments stopped and then was no longer able to make payment requests back in December, and then was able to start up again. So if that's you, get in touch. We want to hear from you. But that's kind of what we're telling everybody right now. That's all we're hearing from the TWC is Continue checking your correspondence inbox on the TWC website. Continue to make the payment requests if you can. And if you can't, if you stopped being able to do that, or if the website stopped letting you do that at some point, check again now to see if that's happening. So, yeah, we're hearing from musicians that have received their stimulus checks already, either by direct deposit. Some of them got it in the mail. And we've heard from a few that got the notice that they would not receive that until they did their 2020 taxes, which might be easier than previous years for a lot of us, because there's just not that much income for musicians in 2020, obviously. So, yeah, so that's kind of where that's at as far as what we're hearing from the committee and from musicians currently. But like I say, let us know what's going on with you, and that'll help everybody. That's part of what's going on here is sharing information, and that's how we can get through this. As far as news, there's not tons, but there's little bits here. The new Biden administration has announced their appointment for labor secretary, which is a big deal. And it's a guy named Mayor Marty Walsh from Boston, who is a labor was a labor leader, was a union member himself, and that is extremely important. So it seems like a good appointment. So that is somebody we can start communicating with right away as soon as he takes office about sort of undoing some of the things that have been done to the Department of Labor in the last 4 years. So, yeah, that's encouraging, and should lead to faster action, at least at the national level. Of course, what we always talk about on this podcast or this broadcast is that unemployment is a state issue, at least as it's currently administered. So it's far more significant what's going on in the state of Texas for us as far as unemployment goes, unemployment assistance. That's all regulated through the state. Even though some of that federal money comes in, it has to go through the state agency, like the Texas Workforce Commission. So there's a couple of articles in the paper, and of course our state legislature, the legislative session started this week as well, which is great because that means hopefully some things will get done that need to get done as far as relief from the COVID pandemic crisis. So, pretty good article about the from Ken Herman in the Statesman on the 12th about the opening day of the Texas legislative session, and it's kind of interesting. We're going to put the link in the notes down here, because there's a little anecdote in that article about the reporter being contacted by the Texas Workforce Commission about employment opportunities, even though that reporter is no longer receiving employment assistance. So things are happening there, but that's one of the things that we're hoping the legislature will act upon is helping to reform the unemployment system in the state of Texas and make it work better for the working people. So, on that note, we're also going to put a link. This is on our Facebook page, on the local union's Facebook page this week also. But the AFL-CIO has a legislative issues survey that you can fill out. It's not short, but it's not super long either. There's 31 questions on here, and they're all multiple choice. And that's how we can let, especially as union members, we can let our legislators in the Texas State Legislature, in the two houses there, let them know what's important to us through our solidarity in the AFL-CIO and in the Texas AFL-CIO specifically. So that's a great advantage for all working people. You don't have to be a union member to fill out that survey, but that's the first thing it asks you, of course, because that's significant to their reporting to the legislators. So yeah, so everybody can fill that out, and it's great. and that helps with working people's issues across the board, um, which are very important now because we've got to get back to work, folks. So we'll have that link down there in the show notes as well. There's an article from today about Texas business groups lobbying the legislature. So they're already in there, of course. They're always more organized than the workers are. The business groups, the employers, um, they're in there. So that's why we as working people also have to get in there and make our voices heard. But of course, they're saying a lot of the same things. As far as um, virus relief. But of course, what they're proposing, the business leaders and employers are proposing, of course, has a lot more to do with employers and business owners rather than working folks. And not that that's wrong. Of course, that's what be there. But they're always more organized, so we have to get organized too. As working people, and there's a lot in there about the whole liability thing for businesses. They really want protection from being held liable for worker safety during this pandemic, which is really not a good idea in a lot of ways for working people. We want that to be the employer's responsibility, and it's better if it is, because if they lose their workforce, they can't do their business, and that's really the end all of that. But yeah, there's still a lot of talk of that, just like there was in the United States Senate in the previous session, and it didn't get through there. I don't imagine it'll get through here, but we don't know. But we need to make our voices heard as working people. There's also, from last week, there's a pretty good article from, or actually it's an op-ed from Bruce Elfant, who, yeah, has been a great advocate for everybody about relief from financial penalties for property taxes. Yeah, so I'll put that in there as well, just because it's relevant to relief. If you look on the TWC website, in their news section, there's not too much in there after their December 31st announcement about the changes and extension of the unemployment assistance. So not much new information there. There's an article from the 11th about finding jobs and returning to work and the things that are out there for that. But of course, for musicians, there's not a lot of returning to work really yet, until people are really comfortable getting out there. So yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's really about all we've got for this week. But please let us know what's happening with you, because again, that's what this is. This is a musician's discussion about what's happening with musicians. I did also want to mention our brothers and sisters with the Austin, Texas Musicians Facebook group are having a session at 2 p.m. in the next hour, about 40 minutes from now, called Understanding Unemployment, and they have some guests. They have Congressman Lloyd Doggett from the U.S. House of Representatives, who's been a great advocate for working people, and then also Valissa Chapa from the Texas Workforce Commission. So I imagine there are going to be some questions, and I think if you tune in live to that, you can ask a question live. So especially the representative from the Texas Workforce Commission. I hope we'll be fielding questions from musicians, so that could be a valuable thing. So I'd encourage you to check that out, and we'll put the link down there in the Facebook, the description. And yeah, thanks to that group for putting that on. And the more information we can share and gain and get it around to everybody, the better it'll be for all of us to survive this pandemic and these shutdowns and everything else. So all right. Like I say, if you're in the music industry, don't give up. We can survive this with solidarity and sharing of information, and sticking together and working together. And yeah, let's do it. We need to make music again. This country needs us to make music again, and the whole world needs the United States to make music again, undoubtedly. So Yeah, don't give up, and we'll see you next week. Take care.